Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Hi, folks. Cesar here. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have a great show this evening I want to share with you. Big topic, important topic, gun safety. Obviously, the pandemic is certainly viral, but there is one social. Gun safety. And I really wanted to focus on this issue for a long time. But tonight we have a special guest. Locally, as part of the Reston-Herndon Moms Demand Action group, we have Hilary Spring. She is the volunteer lead here with Moms Demand Action. And Hilary, thank you again. I know I've thanked you a bunch of times for making time, but really, thank you for coming on the show this evening and talking about this subject for us.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I just to level set the folks, because this really is a big issue and it's complex. So we're going to dedicate a couple segments to this. And in the first segment, I just kind of want to get a sense from you for the audience on kind of why you got involved. And then let's talk about why Moms Demand Action existed. So let's first talk about why'd you get involved? I mean, this is a hot topic and it's emotional on both ends. So why'd you get involved?
Yeah. So I'm 38 years old and I was in high school during the Columbine shooting. So this has been a topic that's been personally relevant to me as I've grown up in this country and sort of seen how people my age are impacted by this issue. But I have to admit, although this was an issue that always felt emotionally important to me, I didn't get off the sidelines and start actively working for policy change until the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with. When I saw the images of armed civilians on the streets of Charlottesville suppressing the rights of the people of Charlottesville to comfortably be in their town and voice their opinions, I was just completely appalled by the fact that what I was seeing was legal. And I knew that I needed to channel the anger that I felt in that moment towards actually working towards change.
No, yeah, you described intimidation, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think people don't fully grasp for me. I mean, and again, to why you got involved. To me, it's straight out intimidating people.
And it's intimidation in a number of different ways. It's not just direct intimidation of me as an individual walking down the street and being confronted by a person with a gun, but it's societal intimidation. It's the fear that as a high school student, I and my classmates felt when we saw what children our age had experienced. It's fear as a parent of being concerned about the safety of your child at a school. You know, intimidation can be a pretty expansive term. And I think that there's a high level of anxiety about safety and the role that guns play, both creating unsafe situations, but then on the other side of the coin too, the role that guns play for some people in making them feel more safe. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why it becomes such a complicated and controversial issue.
To stick on the why piece for a while, there are people that will say, you know, people in just public life, elected officials, or just your neighbors, well, why are we doing this? Why would you do this? Why would you? There's no problem. What are we trying to solve for here?
Yeah, and I hear that one a lot. You know, in Reston and in Herndon, we live in relatively safe communities, right? We do experience crime, and we have seen some really horrible incidences in the last year in particular. But for many of us, we do feel safe. But when you look at the news and when you look at statistics, it's impossible to deny that within this country, we have a gun violence epidemic. And one thing that always strikes me when I learn about communities that have been particularly unexpectedly impacted by gun violence, people say, I never could have imagined that it could have happened here. And this is not something that like would ever happen in our community. And I think that that's fantastic that people feel that safe in the places that they live. And I think it's really important for us to take action to prevent like people from being surprised when something unexpected does happen.
Yeah. And to that point, I think it says something about like where we've come as a country and our culture, right? People do genuinely feel safe.
Yeah.
And that's all part of the, the life that everyone wants. I mean, who wouldn't want to feel safe? But then we get into why do some people feel the need to then be armed when they leave their home?
Yeah.
Why do?
Well, the sense of having a gun, I recognize for many people provides a level of security. And I think particularly it's important to note that people that have been victims of violence and abuse oftentimes see possession of a gun as a way for them to feel safely, like they can go out in society and feel like they have armor if they are encountered by either the person that perpetuated violence against them or just a generalized and understandable sense of anxiety about things that could happen. But it's so important for us to recognize, all of us to recognize, that the presence of a gun itself creates a higher risk for a violent situation. And while there are individual instances where someone being armed does in fact protect themselves, there are countless more heartbreaking situations where someone in the attempt to actually protect themselves really just amplifies the risk of the situation that they're in.
Yeah, I've always, and I do ask my friends, very much pro, Second Amendment, and why are you afraid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, help me understand, because I don't, and maybe because I'm, a different kind of person, my background, I do try to understand the why the apprehension or the anxiety or the fear. First of all, growing up Latino in this country is with a name like mine. You notice I don't put my last name, right? Because I guess I was conditioned so people don't make fun of it, right? I mean, there's just I get some of the anxiety being singled out or targeted. I mean, I understand that, but for me, the response isn't I'm going to carry a weapon. There's other things. There's the spirituality. There's God. There's a whole other, mess of things you can do to feel safer. I just don't. I'm still trying to understand why folks feel the need. I mean, I get it in your home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I get that, but why this compelling urge to be armed amongst people in parks or office buildings?
Well, I think it's important to recognize, and I will acknowledge that I'm from the Northeast originally, which is, when you look at where guns are in this country, is an area of the country where there are essentially the lowest number of guns per capita. So I did not grow up in a community or a family of gun owners or where guns were a major part of the culture. But I do think it's really important to acknowledge the role that guns play in sort of American culture dating back to like the founding of this country, and the fact that the Second Amendment, right, like the second, is specifically about the right to bear arms. So
maintain a militia, right?
Exactly, maintain a militia. And I think there's a whole nother side of the coin of like, what exactly does the Second Amendment mean, and how has historical context shaped that? But that aside, the ability to be armed is something that historically in this country is central to who we are. And I think, oftentimes it's easy for people, like I described myself, to be dismissive of the importance that firearms and hunting play in people's families and their family traditions and like family heirlooms and things that are important to them. But I think when we dismiss that, we start talking past each other and, not really being able to solve the thing that I think collectively we all are in agreement on, which is that we need to do things to reduce gun violence.
No, agreed. And again, I do try to understand why folks feel that. Hunting does come up, but every now and then I'll challenge them. Well, let's do some real hunting, right? We'll do it your way, but then let's do it my way. Let's go out there and just, spears and clubs, right? That's hunting, right? That's survival, right? So this thing about taking these massive amounts of weaponry, and I don't get it. If someone can explain the why the fear or the need, I'm more than willing to understand. Okay, what about a little bit about Moms Demand Action? Sort of the genesis of that, right?
Yeah. So Moms Demand Action formed in the immediate aftermath of the massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And it was essentially started as a Facebook movement led by a woman named Shannon Watts, who, as a mother herself of children, saw that and felt so enraged that she had to do something. Moms Demand Action is now 6 million members strong. We have a presence in all 50 states. We are a volunteer-driven organization that works to promote policy, elect officials that are dedicated to addressing this issue, educating the public on the risks that guns and gun violence can present, and really just driving forward a conversation nationally about what we can do.
Perfect. Love that. It's simple. In about 30 seconds here, I'm going to close out this segment. And when we come back, I want to ask you a few more questions about the organization. By the way, I think it's a great cause. And however I can help, contributions, I will help. I think it's a just and honorable and worthy cause that you all are doing. So definitely want to talk about that, how we support that, how people can support it. But again, when we come back from the break, folks, make sure you come back. We have a lot more with Hilary from Moms Demand Action with us tonight.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove.
You told me not to do drugs.
You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
As they head toward the finish, Warren has built a substantial lead and headed for her 4th gold medal.
She's ahead of the world record pace by at least half a second, and she... Oh, wait, what's she doing?
I think she's doing a headstand. Why would she do that?
She's stopping. She stopped.
I've never seen
She was so
anything
close
like
to the
this.
finish, and she stopped. I
don't know what she's thinking.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I've never...
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi, folks. Cesar here. Thanks for coming back to our show. Amazing show this evening. Again, my guest returning, Hilary Spring from Moms Demand Action. She is the volunteer lead here in the Reston-Herndon, Virginia area. Hilary, thanks for sticking around with us. Lots going on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
In our previous segment, we were just talking a little bit about the organization. Anything else you want to add to the previous topic?
Yeah, I'd love to share that like I said earlier, we are active in all 50 states, and in each state there's unique needs and challenges. And if people are interested in learning more, either about work that's happening in this local area, or maybe sharing information for friends and family that live in different parts of the country, you can always check us out at momsdemandaction.org. We've got a great website where you can input an address or a zip code and find events in your area.
Perfect. And we'll make sure we've got it showing on the screen. We'll make sure as the link is available, it's in the link we share as well. So definitely we'll do that. So let's talk a little bit about, in this segment, some of the things that you're doing. What are you trying to get accomplished here over the next few 6-12 months?
Yeah, well, I can't talk about what we want to accomplish without celebrating some of the incredible progress that we've had as a state here in Virginia over the last 2 years in particular. As people may know, we here in Virginia have historically had relatively lax gun laws. And, in the last quarter of a century, rolled back some provisions that were in place. In the January 2020 legislative session, which we were lucky to have in person before the pandemic shut everything down, our state legislative body passed an amazing suite of gun laws, including background checks on all purchases, limiting purchasers to one handgun per month, and increasing the autonomy of local governments to have the ability to enforce gun legislation at a more community level. These are all issues that my organization, but gun violence prevention organizations across the country have been focused on and working on for many, many years. So to see this progress in the last 2 years here in Virginia has been incredibly gratifying. And it's made us excited about how we can move forward now that we have some more legislative support.
Excellent, excellent.
So in terms of looking at what we are trying to accomplish locally, one of their key goals always is continuing to connect with the community, meet individuals who are interested in learning more about this issue, partnering with organizations that may have similar missions, or maybe serving populations that could benefit from education that our organization can offer, as well as learning and hearing from the community about things that are important to them on the issue of gun violence, safety, but also domestic abuse and intimidation, as we talked about earlier, and ways that guns can be used to hold back moving other issues forward.
Oh, definitely. It's happening here locally. I hear you.
Absolutely. I also want to give a shout out to our program Be Smart, which people can learn more about by looking at besmart.org. We are our Be Smart organization provides training and education for parents, caregivers, anyone that works with children about safe gun storage and having open and honest conversations about guns in the household. So we talk about things like the importance of gun locks and the importance of storing firearms unloaded and storing ammunition and guns separately. And also how, as a parent, to comfortably ask other parents whether guns are stored in a home and what to do if the answer to that question is something that might surprise you. So I think that's a great resource.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you have that conversation after there's an accident. So
right.
Think about it. Just, hey, look, we're neighbors. Hey, my kid's going over there. You got anything I should be worried about, right? Not just guns, but like crazy stuff, right? So.
Yeah, and we always say, like, most of us are totally comfortable sharing allergies or asking if there's a dog in the house. Why aren't we comfortable asking if there's a firearm? Yeah. And if so, how it's stored?
It's organizations like yourself, people like you, the volunteers, to spread the word that makes it okay to talk and ask those questions. How are you? I know, by the way, we met through my other hat that I wear on the Herndon Council. I serve obviously as the vice mayor. Well, not obviously, for folks that don't know, I serve as the vice mayor. And I'm hoping you guys can, move this thing, help us move it forward. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, one of the pieces of legislation that we were so excited to see pass in 2020 is the ability for localities to restrict within their communities where guns are and aren't appropriate to be held. So it surprises many of my friends when I share with them that there's actually it's not illegal to carry a firearm in a public park owned in Herndon. It's not illegal to bring a firearm into the Herndon Municipal Building. The legislation
or to a Herndon Town Council meeting.
Or to a Herndon Town Council meeting, or to the Herndon Festival, or to Friday Night Live.
Right.
And when I share that with people, they're kind of shocked. So essentially, we've been given permission by the state to regulate that and to say, hey, guns don't have a place in our public parks in Herndon. Guns don't have a place in our council chambers. Guns don't have a place at Friday Night Live. And so we are really hoping and supporting the Herndon Town Council to support this measure and support the message that it sends to the community, which is that we value the safety of our community members, our visitors, our patrons, and we value that to the extent that we are willing to say that guns are just don't belong in this environment.
Sure. No, and I need to fully disclose this gun safety ordinance for Herndon was one of my strategic initiatives. So again, thank you for enlightening people on why it's not necessary to have firearms in those sections you mentioned.
I think it's also really important to acknowledge that as it stands today, Herndon is actually the outlier for not having this kind of local ordinance in place. Since the statewide legislation allowing localities to make these decisions went through last summer, nearly all of the communities in Northern Virginia have passed similar laws. So for example, in Fairfax County, guns are no longer permitted in a park. In Loudoun County, open carry is no longer permitted in a park. And so we really want to see Herndon move forward with this because it creates consistency across Northern Virginia. This brings Herndon in line with the safety standards that neighboring communities have put in place. And we think it's really important for us, as we talk about as a broader Northern Virginia community, what is and isn't safe and legal, to not have to break it down by jurisdiction, and to say collectively as a community, this is how we choose to operate, and these are the values that we uphold. And we want to add Herndon to that list of places that we talk about in that sense.
Yeah, and just to be clear on what the ordinance in Herndon is, because I think it's important people understand, because you get all this noise. We're not talking about limiting what someone can purchase, how many types. None of that is in the ordinance. What the ordinance states is exactly what you were saying. It's similar to Fairfax. It's actually less than the county, right? It just says in town buildings and town parks, you're not allowed to have firearms. They're going to have signs, right? That's it. And let me repeat what we're doing again, right? What we're talking about here. Parks and buildings. That means you can't come to council chambers. You can't come to do business with town business, like pay your water bill, whatever. You can't walk into those buildings wearing that. It's the same thing with Fairfax County, right? You can't walk into the government center.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also good to remind folks that we have these types of laws at the state and federal level, right? This is not us going in and saying, we're going to make this really restrictive gun law at the local level. You can't bring a firearm into the post office. You can't bring a firearm into most federal buildings. These are safety measures that our national government and our state government have decided to enforce. And if those standards are good enough for them, why aren't they good enough for us, right? This is not radical. This is not radical change that we're introducing here. If anything, it simplifies it, right? If we pass this measure in Herndon, it means, hey, it's a government building. I can't bring a firearm. I don't have to break down who owns it. Where is it? It's just, it's really a matter of simplicity. and consistency.
Yeah, I love that, because guess what? In the town, you can't go over 25 in residential areas, right? I mean, it's just consistency, and that's what we're talking about. So we've only got a couple minutes here. Just want to, what sort of help or what sort of things you need for how to get this done?
Yeah, well, here at Moms Demand Action, we love to talk to our lawmakers and we love to make our voice heard. So we've been gathering support from across the town of Herndon, neighboring communities, people that visit, do business, work in Herndon, to share with the town council our support for this measure and why, on an individual level, it's important to us. And it's important to a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. We've also been really excited to be able to voice our opinions in public hearings and be able to share face-to-face with lawmakers who we are as community members and why this is important to us. And we're excited to continue to have that opportunity to bring more voices into public hearings and into letters and emails to the council members to personalize this issue for them and let them know that, why this matters to individuals and what our own personal stories are that have made this a meaningful issue.
Awesome. And again, I've dealt with you a couple times. I've seen you out there. I cannot thank you, the organization, enough for pushing on this issue. It is a hard fight, but it's one that, again, I think I said it was a meaningful, honorable, just cause. It will impact people in a positive way.
And it's really exciting to be able to take this next step on the state legislation that was passed. And for those of us who worked on that, to actually try to bring this to life in our community. It really is continuing the work that we were doing at the state level and really seeing it realized in the neighborhoods that we live in, we play in, we do work in, we visit, we shop in.
I think it's a perfect path to that more perfect union, right? Things need to change as the community, organizations, societies all change. Hilary Spring, volunteer lead with Moms Demand Action here in Reston-Herndon, Virginia. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure to be here.
So how was work?
It was 1,300 hours. My math class from 302 was in the trenches. Davy Roth had it the worst. Fractions were coming at him left and right. He just didn't get the damn things. 2 days ago, I tried to teach him what 1/4 of 1/2 was using different sizes of blocks. Yesterday, I tried again by dividing up pizza. Both missions failed.
Oh no.
But today, I was ready. I created a combat math game where the only way to beat the enemy is to out-fraction them. Davy conquered every last denominator. My game was so successful, the principal is deploying it to math squadrons all over the school.
Anywho, how was your day?
Oh, today my boss treated the office to salad wraps.
Salad wraps.
I know.
The COVID-19 vaccines can be our chance to get back to our plans, who we are, what we miss, to get back to each other, to life. But it's okay to have questions, like, how were the vaccines tested? In rigorous clinical trials among adults of diverse backgrounds. Can the vaccines give you COVID-19? You cannot get COVID-19 from a vaccine. Why should I get vaccinated? Protecting yourself also helps protect the people around you. Find the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi, folks. Cesar here. Thanks for coming back to the show. Full disclosure, I've got a really good friend of mine on this evening. I thought it important that we have him on and talk about the great things that he and his foundation are doing here locally. I won't steal his thunder, but again, full disclosure, I've donated to this organization. It's such a worthy, just and meaningful thing they're doing here locally. And without further ado, I want to introduce my good friend Dan Fisher, who is the president of the Green Lizard Foundation. Dan, welcome, sir. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, Cesar. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about the foundation and everything we have going.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I am so excited that you're here, man. I just wanted to share with everyone in the area what you guys were doing. But first, let's back up and talk about why did this thing come about? Why the Green Lizard Foundation was incorporated.
So those familiar with the area or with Herndon in general probably have seen the Green Lizard Cycling Shop. You know, it opened up in, I believe, 2013, and the owners, Beth and Dave, have always been very, very community focused, very, very focused on giving back, particularly to the youth in the area. So in 2019, what they decided to do was they looked at all the things that they had been doing, you know, supporting kids by, you know, sponsoring them for the local athletic teams, or donating safety equipment, or giving out refurbished bikes to the underprivileged. And they decided they wanted to formalize those processes. And thus, here we are, the Green Lizard Foundation. Myself and several other people who are regulars to the shop and to the cycling community, or just the athletic community in general, who believe in that type of thing. We believe in, one, supporting our community. We also believe in active lifestyles, particularly for kids or younger people, and really making sure that they have the ability to do those things. You know, we might think that cycling or running or taking part in these events are there's no cost. Well, there are. And we want to make sure that no one's ever denied the ability to participate in events such as this because of any type of financial constraint. And we also want to make sure that, you know, kids have the access to things like nutritional information, again, the safety equipment. And this is why it all started. And it's, you know, it's been an interesting time for it to have started again in 2019. And it's really kind of, the last year has shown us how much organizations like ours are really needed to help out in our local communities. So we're very excited the work we've been doing.
And I remember in those early days, and again, go back to why I think this came about, and certainly your insight on this. Dave and Beth Myers, the owners, they were footing a lot of this out of their own pockets, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So there are many, many stories of we're right there on the trail, where Dave would see a kid ride by without a helmet on, and he would chase them down and say, no, take this helmet. And he would pay that out of his own pocket. Yeah. And, you know, that was very generous for him to do that. But, you know, all of us were like, no, we appreciate that. We value that. We want to help do that.
Yeah, I thought it's such an incredible story, you know, in terms of Dave and Beth building that community.
Right.
That really rallied around them building out a community, right?
I mean, as you know, anyone who goes by the shop in the summer on a Wednesday night or for any of the scheduled rides, there are dozens and dozens of people who all come there. We all come back at the same time. We all meet. Several of us go there for coffee in the mornings. It really is a linchpin of our little local community, and I'm really happy to be part of it.
No, that's great. I just think the need that they saw, and the need that was filled by the community. I mean, I don't think people had to be asked or twisted to help out, right?
Oh, no. We actually have, you know, anytime we even remotely bring something up to the community that's something we want to do, people are volunteering, they're offering financial support. We've really been very successful very quickly, almost to the point where, you know, it's really it's unbelievable. I can't say enough about the support that we get from the local community or from the Green Lizard community itself. It's been amazing.
And I got to tell you, getting back to the why piece a little bit more, just to double click on that.
Yeah.
There really is sort of like the microcosm of a lot of our country, right? You've got people that have the luxury and the benefits to being able to do this and participate. And then to help a community that, quite frankly, they don't have cars.
Right.
But they use their bicycles for transportation, right?
We will probably get a little more into this, but we've literally given out bikes to people who say, I need a way to get to and from work, and right now I walk.
Right.
You know, we're very happy to help out with that type of thing. And that is some people's primary mode of transportation.
Yeah.
So one, we want to make sure they have a bike that's safe. We want to make sure they have the equipment that's safe. And that if they want to, have some training on how to operate these safely, what the rules are, we provide that, so that is really the core mission.
Yeah. And I love everything that's involved in that, right? It's you have people that didn't really understand why it was important to be seen, like on a bicycle, right? Especially in a busy town, right? So the whole safety aspect, why is it important to understand, hey, when you're on a bike in the street or on the sidewalk, why do you need to be safe? Right? So, and the multiple languages too. I thought communicating to those communities.
Well, that's a great point. We do have a lot of active outreach into communities that would not cross paths with many of us under normal circumstances, and in many cases, those people who are the ones who are literally riding their bikes to and from work, and that's who we're really trying to reach out to. And we have people who do speak their language, who we are able to get more, into that community in the local Herndon area. So there's a lot of directions we're going where we're having I think a really positive impact on a lot of different people.
Definitely. I mean, I go back to, you guys saw like the need, and you stepped up and filled that. And again, I think that's such an important why you did this, just the history on that. So let's talk a little bit about, sorry.
No, I'll say, and we recognize that there's always the joke about we have to be more active as people. We have to be out in the community. We have to engage across, all these different ways of life. And I'm very pro outside fitness activity levels. So it really touches every single part of it. Yes, we want to help people be active. Yes, we want to help people make sure they have the ability to get to and from work. Yes, we want to make sure everyone's safe. And this is a way we're able to really check so many boxes across all those areas to really make sure we are doing our best to help people out.
Awesome. Yeah, I just, there's so many people that are involved, and there's such, you inspire people all the time. So kudos. So let's shift a little bit, if we can, to, I want to give people like sort of the historical context of what you've done. I just, please enlighten us.
So we've done a number of things. Again, our main focus, or our mission focus, start off as really wanting to help kids. And so one of the main things that we have done, or that we are really most proud of, at least I'm most proud of, is that outreach to these local communities to get bikes to kids who need them, who want them. So we've had several, what I will call bike drives, bike giveaways, where we have coordinated with, the local schools, particularly the local, Herndon Middle School, one of the high schools, as well as a grade school, and basically worked with some counselors, with some teachers, and said, hey, this is what we want to do. Do you have students or that you are working with that you think would want a bike, would benefit from having one? And if so, we have bikes that we are fitting for them. We collect a wide variety of sizes. Obviously, you're not going to give a fifth grader a full-size adult bike. So we have a range of different bikes for different kids of different sizes who, they will come. We will have an event. We will try and have a couple bikes for each, just so they can pick one. And then we have, little barbecues. We give out a ton of stuff. Everyone who comes gets their bike. They get a helmet. Very important, a helmet to go with the bike. Bike chains, we have always tried to give away so people, don't have them, unfortunately, have them stolen. So we will have these events, and we've had 5 of these giveaways, 4. We will be having our 5th this coming up. We've done 4 of them. We've also, very often on a one-off basis, we will get word from a teacher or from a counselor at a local organization who will tell us, we've done some work with Cornerstone or gotten referrals from Cornerstone who have said, we have an individual who needs a bike to get to work. Well, how tall are they? Are they a man or woman? How big are they? come on over. We've got something for you. For kids, we'll say, hey, we have a kid who really needs, or we would really benefit. He rides his bike to and from school. That's when we just had a counselor reached out and said, we have a student who is walking to school. Could we get a bike from to ride a bike? Of course. And we will make sure he has one that's safe to ride on, and that he will have the proper safety equipment while he's riding it.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I remember one of you all telling me the story of the young boy who wanted to go to summer school, but they couldn't get him there.
Right.
Right. But you guys gave him a bike.
Give him a bike.
That's so hard. That was awesome, man.
There was one that a young man basically went to his teachers and said, I want to work to help support my family. I just need a way to get to work. And how can you say no to that? Of course I'm going to help you. I would love to be able to do a lot more to help that particular kid, because he's going to school, he's trying, he's doing everything he can do to support his family, to try and make himself and his family a better situation. So of course we're going to do everything we can for that kid.
And also the shop, by the way, the Green Lizard bike shop,
cycling shop,
where kind of this all came from. So
Mm-hmm.
they also help some of these folks with either repairs or language. I mean, so
yeah. So again, we get a donated bike. First thing the shop does is they go through it and basically refurbish it, and they will do any repairs that need to be made on them. All the mechanical, they will go through all that. I mean, the people there are very skilled in what they do when it comes to repairing and building out bikes. So we'll make sure that is all set and ready for the kids. We do, this shop itself does a lot of other stuff at the same time, where I mentioned, we will help sponsor a variety of other types of events, or, we've donated a fair amount to many of the local pantries in the area. There are a lot of things that we have tried to do that aren't strictly cycling focused or strictly athletic focused, but we really tried to branch out and make sure that we are kind of ticking all of the different needs of the different people in the community.
Awesome. I think that's great. There's a lot more that we need to talk about, and we got to fit in a break here. So I'll ask you to hang on here. We'll come back afterwards. But I definitely want to talk about a little bit more about some of the other events you've had, and then kind of going forward, how are you going to keep this thing going?
Oh yeah.
I said it before, it's a very just and honorable cause that is happening here. So folks, hang on, and we'll come right back after our quick break here.
America, land of the free. It's at the core of who we are. Freedom. The freedom to live without fear, to drive through all 50 states, to sleep safely in our own beds, the freedom to jog where we please, to watch birds in the park, to wear a hoodie, the freedom to breathe. Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because no matter your religion, gender, disability, age, race, all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Get it.
Get it.
Get it.
Give your town a reason to celebrate, because every Goodwill item you bring home brings job training and more to your community. Goodwill, bring good home.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi, folks. Cesar back here. Appreciate you coming back for our show. And again, definitely having a great time here this evening with my good friend Dan from the Green Lizard Foundation. Dan, thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, thanks for keeping me around.
Absolutely. So let's finish off on some of the important things you guys have been doing. I know I know you had some more lined up there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just assume that the cycling shop only deals with cycling. And, that's a big part of it is they are cycling focused. But, we do try and branch out a fair amount. Like, I mentioned in the last segment, one of the things that we like to focus on is, the food insecurity of people in this area. We have donated significant amounts of our funding to some of the local pantries, especially, now, again, our primary focus, as I said, is kids. It's kind of well, I hate to say it's amazing because that would imply some type of positivity, but the number of kids who rely on school for their nutrition, and when schools are closed, there's that significant gap is left. So we did a lot to support a lot of the local food banks. We also do a lot of the just fun stuff. I mean, there's the serious side, and we also want to make sure kids have the ability to do the fun stuff. One of the things that we've always tried to do is, as I like to joke, is despite being so much with cycling shop, I'm actually a runner, and so I will claim to be a marathoner, but getting beat in every race I ever do. But we will support some of the local running clubs when they want to do a like the turkey trot in Herndon, or there's so many 5 and 10Ks that are in this area. If a local school group says, hey, we're looking to put some of our kids in this race, can you help us out? Yeah, that's the type of thing we support. And I love getting, like, when I get beat by like a 10-year-old, that's just right there. Make my coaches from when I was in high school proud as I'm trying to hang in there as I'm getting lapped. That's always fun.
Nice. Okay. Well, it takes a big man to admit getting beat by 9-year-olds. That's all good.
Exactly.
That's good. Definitely. You guys have done so much. I mean, so how are you gonna maintain this going forward? So let's talk about like how you're gonna keep this thing flowing and growing.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that we're always trying to do. I mean, again, we've been unbelievably fortunate in the community that is already around the Green Lizard Foundation, but we can, while we can rely on the generosity of our own little group, we're always trying to expand. We are looking to do more and more and more. I mean, when we refurbish a bike, it costs anywhere from maybe as little as $10 to $20 to do some basic repairs, change it, make sure things go ahead, to maybe a few hundred to actually pretty much rebuild the entire bike. And with that, we need additional funding. So we are always on the lookout for donors, personal donors. We are doing fundraising events. Last year, we did what we called last year an Oktoberfest, where we basically had an outside event where all of our local supporters could come, give donations. We had a variety of prizes, giveaways. We are actually going to do our second one next month. We're actually going to call it the Fall Festival, the Green Lizard Foundation Fall Festival. It will be at Aslan Brewery. We're really thinking this is going to be a step up. Again, last year was our first time out. Again, we've only been around for less than 2 years. And we've made great strides in those 2 years, and we're going to continue to make those great strides. So we wish to open up our little community, which has been a closed community, not by our own design to keep it kind of closed. It just was naturally closed. We want to open up and let more and more people in, more and more people get some of the joy out of participating in these events and helping out with the good work we're doing. So that our next big event, our next big fundraiser opportunity for people to get involved, to help us help others, or just get involved with us themselves, is going to be our October Fall Festival at Aslan Brewery. You can actually, right now on our website, we do have links up. They're going to show the event. You can purchase tickets for the event, but that is our next big fundraiser. And we are always accepting donations that can either be made, you can send them to us, or just bring them to the shop. If people have bikes, again, if we have a bike, many people have, they have old bikes in their garage. That was their one of their children's that have now grown up. They've moved out, and they have old bikes sitting there. We always are looking for bike donations that we can then bring to the shop, refurbish, give new life to, and then give to a young person who's really going to use it and enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's a good distinction, right? I mean, you will certainly take the kids' bikes that aren't used, but also like we donated our old Trek bikes, right? That
right.
We weren't using them. So I mean, and again, you want to certainly have that and get them referred, but certainly getting them to the right people, right?
Yeah.
You're just not in the business to give away free bikes, right?
No, we do want, one, we like to focus on kids. One of the things that we've really tried to do again is get contacts with the community who, I don't want to say will vet them for us, but again, we work with the schools who are able to, one of the teachers that we worked with basically almost said it was a prize. I mean, I don't want to say it was a prize, but she said, these are her kids that have been working hard, that have been doing great things, that would benefit from it. She knew they were in need. She sent them our way. You can't just walk into the shop and say, I want a bike. Unfortunately, that has happened, but that, we can't do that for everybody. But we do always try and focus our efforts on those who will benefit the most and who we think will appreciate it the most and will use it the most.
Okay. You talked a little bit about the fall festival.
Yes.
What's anything? Because by the way, full disclosure to the audience, I attended the inaugural event. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. So if you're stepping that up, I'm certainly looking forward to the next one. I encourage everyone to certainly go, and they don't have to go. They can still just donate to the cause.
Of course, yes, you can just donate. But we would love to have everyone come out and see what we're about. I can just ask, you can send a check if you want. Of course, we're going to accept it, and we will use it to the best of our ability and make sure your funds go in our funnel to the right people. But when for the event, last year we had around 75 people come. That was the cap we wanted. We were, there were concerns. It was an outside event, but we wanted to keep it small. We wanted to make sure we didn't get too out of control too early. We want to make sure everyone was there, was able to have a good time. This year we got, our legs behind us. We know a little better about what we're doing. We started to get some more feedback from people. So you mentioned stepping it up. Yeah, we've gone from using a small, private venue to now, well, I guess Aslan's still technically private. But we're using, Aslan Brewery, which in Herndon is a very large, it's a big deal for us. They have events where they have thousands of people. Now, we're not going to try and do that. We're still keeping it somewhat under control. We're expecting to have, 200 people. That's kind of our target, 200 tickets to be sold to this event. And what they'll be getting for that is, we're going to have some bands play. We'll have a DJ. We'll have music that will all be kind of spaced out. We'll have a variety of giveaways, door prizes, the types of things that you would expect to get when coming to one of these, outdoor fundraiser festivals. But again, it's going to be on a bigger scale. When it comes to sponsorship, we've had a phenomenal response from people, both our own network of people who've already supported, plus the local Herndon business community has been very supportive of not just this event, but supporting us over the last 2 years. So it's been phenomenal, and it's going to be a good one. We're really looking forward to it. I can't.
No, I everyone I talk to is talking it up, and certainly looking forward to it. So, full disclosure, I said I've done it in the past. I want to keep supporting this, Dan. So I will get this personally to you. Here is my check to the Green Lizard Foundation. So I'll get this to you, brother. Next time I see you, it is in your hand. I promise you. And
thank you so much.
I just want to get on the list early, man, because I don't want to be left out of this thing. So
no, you won't be. Again, that is extremely generous. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
No, my pleasure, man. I think again, I wanted to share what you guys were doing with the larger area, and I just think it is such a humbling thing to see what Dave and Beth Myers created as far as this community. I mean, it took them a while to realize they didn't have to do this on their own.
Yeah.
Right. That there was such a willingness, and they inspired people to do this, to get involved, to just mimic what they were doing.
Yeah. And, I don't want to talk up, the cycling community or really the Green Lizard particular community itself about, pat ourselves on the back too much. But, when I moved into my house right around the corner, I knew it was there. I kind of walked it and I just thought, oh, there's a coffee shop. But the people around it are such great people. I mean, it's so welcoming, and I just can't describe how happy I am that I managed to stumble on this community when I moved to the area. I'm really glad we picked the house that we picked just because of its proximity, and I've been able to become a part of this community. And there's nothing I love more than bringing other people into this community. So anyone who's watching wants to get involved, come on over, come to downtown Herndon. It's very rewarding, and we would love you and welcome you. It is fantastic.
No, absolutely. And again, not to just plug because again, it's about the foundation, but it was an extension of the vision, right?
Yes.
That the owners had. And I think it was Beth that said they wanted to create a shop that everyone was welcome to. To start biking, right? And they've succeeded at that. And again, I just think it's such an amazing thing that you guys have done. This is like only the second or third year that you're rolling this out. So
yeah, we started in 2017 was when we first came out, and we came out with a bang because again, the community itself, like we had such a tailwind behind us pushing us. It wasn't even fair. Like, you know, we had so much support coming out, and I cannot overstate that I can't take credit for anything. The board can't take credit for anything. We have had such great support from everyone involved, and we want to continue. We want to bring more people in, because the more people we have participating in this, you know, we're very Herndon focused because that's where we all live and that's where the shop is. We do see a lot of need in our own area, but we are always looking. You know, one of the things that we've done that I am very proud of is, you know, my mother's, well, she's retired, was a high school teacher and a college teacher, but I know in this area, or really where I grew up, there are so many kids who like literally don't have Christmas. And so we would do things like talk to the school counselors and say, we are willing to buy gift cards. I don't need to know the students' names. I don't need to know their personal information. You do as you feel is appropriate, but we will supply gift cards. We will supply holiday meals. We want to make sure kids have a Christmas, they have a Thanksgiving dinner. And that's the kind of stuff that we want to keep doing. We want to expand doing beyond just Herndon, beyond just Reston, beyond Fairfax County.
Awesome. Dan, again, keep up the great work. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I really think people are really going to find this an inspirational organization to be a part of. Again, thanks to you, thanks to the board, thanks to the foundation, thanks to Dave and Beth for Green Lizard Cycling.
And thank you so much for having me, Cesar. We greatly appreciate it.
Have a great day. And folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with another show very soon.